Well, this bike is kind of weird, but weird in a good way. So this was sent to me to review by VARUN, and I have to say, when I did actually have a look at this, I said, God, that bike is kind of strange looking, weird spec. How do you assemble the bike? All these questions start actually running through my head initially, but I kind of like it. And there's a number of reasons why this M26-3 model, which is their latest version, kind of stands out actually, funny enough, from other bikes that I've had on the channel. So briefly, let's just run through the specs. You have a 48 volt 7.5 amp hour battery that's actually in this front compartment. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That's actually kind of probably the weirdest thing about this. And also we have a top speed of up to 32 kilometers an hour, but for me I got 27. The bike actually weighs 30 kilograms, which actually isn't too bad. It has, of course, the front suspension here, and it has the midpoint suspension. It does have these 26-inch, basically they're like an all-terrain tire. They actually give really good grip. You also get a front LED light with this. You don't get a rear one, but of course you can buy them separate. And the bike is foldable, and it does have 7 Shimano gears. But when I took this out of the box, I didn't realize actually that you do need to assemble a few things on this bike, but it's also customizable depending on the region you're in. So basically, this is of course where your controller is. You have the suspension here, it folds here. Pedals are not collapsible, but I mean that's not really a deal breaker for this kind of bike. Gears are okay, but the gears could be fine-tuned a little bit better from factory. That's my only kind of major complaint. Not a lot of noise is actually coming from this bike, which is quite good, and it is a little bit difficult to bottom out the suspension, but if you do go crazy, you will end up doing that, particularly if you're doing off-road trails or something like that. On the rear here you do have a 500 watt motor, and surprisingly enough, as you go through the gears, of course you get more torque, but the torque alone from that motor is actually quite good compared to some 500 watt electric scooters that I've had on the channel. So from hill climbing, it's actually quite good at hills, and of course you can pedal the bike as well. Of course you could get a range of up to 80 kilometers, maybe 120. That's realistically only if you're going like on gear 1 and if you are pedaling the bike at the highest gear. But to be honest, I'd say if you were going as fast as possible with a 48 volt 7.5 amp hour battery, you know, you probably could get maybe 25 kilometers an hour max if you were going crazy with the bike. Faster you go, the faster the battery drains. I get asked that question all the time on the channel. That's just the way it is, same as a car. But before I show you some of the kind of weird things about this, you do get standard mechanical disc brakes in the front and of course in the rear. So yeah, the brakes are actually quite decent on this. The left brake is the front brake and the right hand side brake is the rear brake. Normally it's the opposite way around in general for the bikes that I've had on the channel. So that's one thing that I don't like. I wish they were the opposite way around. You could switch them if you want, but for me I wouldn't actually go through the hassle. So when you take this out of the box, this twist throttle and this grip are actually separated. In some countries, in Europe for example, you are not allowed throttles on an e-bike. And when I did get this bike, you didn't have that. You just have kind of basically pedal assistance. But the good thing is, if you are in a country where it allows throttles on e-bikes, you simply install it. You take off the grip that already comes with basically from factory, and then you pop this twist throttle on. You have a small spacer in between, and then you pop the rest of the grip on. Then you just simply connect the throttle basically to the connector that's in the bag here. Now let's talk about this. Very strange. This is of course where the battery is. Now I'm going to talk about a few concerns in a second, but just take a look here. Normally on e-bikes you have of course the battery that's in basically the frame, but this is the battery here, the amp hour battery, which is 48 volts as well. Now there's a few concerns about this. For example, if it rains, I've had bags in the past that claim to be waterproof but they're not, or a high water resistance rating. Generally those bags get damp inside. So if it rains, I'm quite concerned about this battery getting damaged. It is IP65 rated. To be honest, it's that for me is makes me a little bit nervous. I'd rather basically put this battery that's in this bag already into another bag, a bigger bag like a Wildman 3 litre bag, or you can get them I think in 4 or 5 litre. Then put basically this bag in that bag, so you kind of have double the protection from waterproof. You do of course have your connectors here. This is the connector from basically the battery here to all your cables here. Cable management on this scooter is very, very messy. I don't like cable management like this. The controller is there. I mean, the controller is quite exposed in my opinion. So I think you would just have to be cautious basically in rain. You can turn off the battery. Now I'm not saying the battery is badly built. It is in quite a good case. You do have your on off button here. So in a way, they say on the website it's like anti-theft. So let's say you have to go to work, you can simply take out the battery in a matter of seconds and charge it, and your charging connector is here. In a way it's good because you can do that very, very fast. In a way, against rain you would have to be very careful, so just put this bag in another bag, basically. That's what I'm saying. Overall though, build quality is quite decent, because the bike, if you just take a look at it, if it didn't have that battery at the front, it looks like a normal mountain bike. I mean, of course it does not look electric at all in my opinion, so the likes of thieves, something like this, would probably just leave it alone. So I think, you know, okay, that's probably the strangest point about it. Overall though, it's very comfortable, solid, tires are fantastic. Mudguards are a little bit flimsy at the back there, to be honest. You can always buy after better mudguards that are a bit more solid, but overall bike is quite sturdy and very comfortable to ride.